Welcome, welcome to the Always Met Life Takeover, where it's never too late to pursue life on your own terms in your own time because you absolutely deserve it. All right, so let's get into this video. If you're a regular person like me, you've probably been seeing a ton of ads about the upcoming election. I mean, you have one side saying that this candidate is going to run the country into the ground. This candidate is saying, hey, this particular person is going to lead you and your family into poverty. This candidate is going to open the borders and all the immigrants are going to come into the country and take all of your jobs. And this particular candidate is going to sink the economy, blah, 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 right? Now, if you don't know this already, I'm here to tell you, none of these candidates are going to do jack shit for you, all right? Let's just get that out of the way. It has never been about you and me. It is all about them. Think about this. In what universe does it make sense for a person who's worth $50 million to $500 million to take a job that pays less than $200,000 a year? In what universe does it make sense for people who are worth 10 million, 50 million to 100 million to a half a billion to not only seek jobs that pay less than 200K, but remain in those jobs for decades? In what universe would a billionaire who has already been president, knowing that he's only going to make $400,000 a year, he's going to lose all privacy, he is going to have to be away from his wife and his young son, he is going to be shot at, he's going to have other people attempting to shoot at him. Keep in mind, this person's been president already, but they still want this job. In what universe can a person come into a job with a net worth of about $1.5 million and after 8 years of making $400,000 a year, fast forward a few more years, this person now is worth reportedly $70 million. In what universe can these things happen? So I'm going to tell you in what universe these things can happen. It's our political system and our federal government. In my opinion, this game is all about money and power. And then, of course, you throw in some ego and, in some cases, people trying to stay out of jail. And you get people who are only interested in what they can get out of this. It is not about you and me, as I mentioned before. It is all about them. This applies to all of these government politicians, whether you are a Democrat, whether you are a Republican. It does not matter. I don't believe for 1 second that these so-called public servants are doing these jobs because they want to be of service to the public. They want to help other people. I ain't buying it. So I want to focus on this from a money perspective, right? I was reading an article from PolitiFact that said that 50% of the members in Congress are millionaires, whereas obviously the percentage of millionaires in the general public is more like 5% to 12%. So in terms of the top 50 wealthiest members of Congress, they have a net worth anywhere from $10 million to $500 million. So the rank and file members of Congress, they make $174,000 a year, whereas you have some of the party leaders who can make up to $224,000 a year. Whereas you literally have people in Congress who are worth $250 to $500 million who are pleading for these jobs that pay $174,000 or at best $224,000. Even notable people like Mitch McConnell reportedly has a net worth in the $30 million range. And if you take like Nancy Pelosi, who reportedly has a net worth that's over $100 million. And both of these individuals have been in Congress for 30 plus years. So have you ever asked yourself, why would a person who's worth all of this money fight life and death to hang on to a job that pays them $174,000 a year, or in some cases $224,000 a year, when they're worth 10, 20, 30, 50, 100, $500 million? let's look at the other 50% of Congress who apparently are not millionaires. And let's look at and see if they do this to be good public servants, or do they do it because of all of the other perks and benefits that they get out of this? So I jotted down a few notes on the perks that they get. So let me just take a look at these real quick and let you know about them. All right, so obviously they get the $174,000 salary, whereas the national average salary for other Americans is around $63,000. So they're getting a significantly higher salary. So that's one good perk to be a member of Congress, for example. Let's see. They can still earn an additional $31,000. There's a limit on it. $31,000 limit on the additional earned income that they can get outside of their congressional salary. Okay, that's pretty good. So with regard to healthcare insurance, did you know that members of Congress get a subsidy that pays up to 72% of the premiums that they pay for their healthcare insurance? Not to mention, they can pay an annual fee of $650 where they can get emergency medical services and additional medical services from the office of the attending physician. I believe it's like an office that's ran by the Navy or something to that effect. But I guess if they were to get sick while they're in DC or need medical services while they're out there, they can just go see the office of the attending physician and get treatment or whatever. So after just 5 years of service, they can get a pension up to 80% of their salary. So if you have a rank and file member of Congress who's making $174,000, and let's say they serve 10 years, and they qualify for basically a lifetime pension that is going to pay them 80% of their salary. So they're basically going to get a pension for $139,000 a year. And they can start taking that pension at age 50. In addition, they can still get Social Security, and they can still participate in the other federal retirement plan options that are offered to federal employees. So you tell me, how many people do you know under the age of 50 that have a pension from the company that they work for? I bet it's very few. I have not worked for any employer who has offered me a pension. They also get allowances to hire staff, pay for travel, office space, furniture. So, according to some research that I was doing, I found out that Congress is in session on average about 160 days. And this is an average that I took from 2001 to 2022. All right, so they're in session roughly 160 days. Now, if you take the average employee, right, if they work 5 days a week, 52 weeks, that's like 260 working days. So there's 100 more working days for the average American, whereas Congress is only in session to work 160 days. Now, you say, what are they doing on those other 100 days? Supposedly, they're supposed to be back in their districts, commingling and listening to the needs of their constituents and so forth. But, man, they're not working those 100 days. There's no telling what these people are doing. More than likely, they're probably trying to raise funds for their future campaign to stay in that job. Now, here's the really special perk that they get that they don't ever want to talk about. They want to keep this one on the low, right? And that is all the freaking insider information that they get, right? Man, there have been so many instances of members of Congress who have bought and sold stock, at these convenient times, right? Because they know what's happening before it happens. So by the time the information reaches the streets and you and I find out about it, man, these people have already either, hey, this sanction is going to get put against this company, or the DOJ is going to be suing this company and blocking them from doing this or that. They've sold that stock already. Or this big, huge contract is going to get awarded to XYZ company or whatever the case may be. Then they've probably already bought that stock. Man, these people have all of the inside information, whereas you and I, we're just getting the crumbs after the fact. So this sounds like a pretty sweet gig to me. Now, I can see why people are willing to sell their soul to stay in these positions, because it is not about the American public. It is all about them and what they can get out of this. So if you still don't believe that it's not about you and me, it's all about them, then let's look at some additional information. So I was looking at an article from an organization called Open Secrets, which tracks campaign finance and spending. And it said that for the 2024 presidential and congressional elections, that they were on track to spend about $16 billion. So you're telling me that people are willing to spend approximately $16 billion. We're talking money that could probably send millions of kids to college, could probably feed millions of poor, starving kids right here in America. But getting these seats are so important that they're willing to go out and raise $16 billion and spend it on campaigns and ads and so forth, all so that they can win an election. Some people will say these people are fighting for these seats because they're trying to support the American people and fight for the American people. I say bullshit. So I was reading another article from the Business Insider that talked about during the 2022 midterm elections, there were 22 candidates who collectively put $400 to $500 million of their own personal money into their campaigns to win their elections. Now, again, in some cases, you have people who are putting in $100 million of their own money to win an election for a job that is going to pay them $174,000 and some other perks. But yet this person obviously is rich, because if they have $100 million to spend on an election, money doesn't seem to be a problem. Now, to me, it is awfully suspicious that a person is willing to spend $100 million on a job that pays them less than $200,000 a year. It cannot be about serving the public. You don't spend $100 million for the opportunity to be a public servant. There has to be more into it for you. And that's why these people do this. And think about it. It's not only the money. You are taking time away from your family because you're traveling all the time. You know, you have the commitments where you're out meeting with your constituents and so forth. And you open yourself up to all sorts of scrutiny. You basically lose all privacy. And you got people out there with death threats, and people, I mean, there's been literally Congress people who have been shot. So you're telling me that for this $174,000 job, you're willing to pay $100 million of your own money and these other things that you got to deal with? And this is all for the sole purpose of being a good public servant. I simply cannot buy that. Call me a skeptic, call me a cynic, call me whatever you want. I just can't buy it. So what's the moral of the story? So first of all, I'm going to say, go out and vote. And you vote for what you believe is right and wrong. Me personally, I'm voting for decency. I cannot vote for a guy who every time he talks, he lies. I just can't do it. I can't vote for a person who degrades people and just an overall horrible human being. I just can't do it. Not that I expect Kamala Harris to do anything particularly special. I don't. So I'm going to tell you this. And do not, and I repeat, do not rest your financial future on the promises made by a presidential candidate, a congressional candidate, or any other candidate. Because it is not about you. It is about them. The same people who were poor under Bush, were poor under Obama, were poor under Trump, and they will be poor under the next president. And it's mainly because they have a poor mindset. These people are not going to change that for you. They're not even thinking about you. They're giving you all these promises and things that, oh, I'm going to, first day in office, you're going to have so much money. that you're not going to have to worry about childcare because, we're going to get it all from tariffs and blah, 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 blah. And we're going to tax the rich. And that's how we're going to make it affordable and get everybody in America a home. Stop it. It ain't going to happen. You are the only person who can change your financial situation. Sitting around waiting on a congressional candidate or a presidential candidate to change your financial future is insanity. So, how does a person change their financial mindset? So, the first thing that I would say is, man, pick up a damn book and start reading on the different views on finances, the economy, and how money works. Most people don't even know that money is not even a real thing. It's just paper. It's not backed by anything. It's just backed by the belief that you believe that it's worth something. Learn from people who are at the position that you're trying to get to. I mean, they are going to be the best teachers in terms of helping you grow to that next level. So take that advice, follow those people, watch those people, ask questions. And whatever you do, stop getting your information from news organizations. News organizations have one goal, and that is to capture your attention, package it up, and sell it to advertisers. Their main stream of revenue is advertising. So the more that they can capture your attention with outrageous stories and then sell that attention to advertisers who are going to constantly beat you over the head with commercials to go buy useless shit. Or they're going to feed you to political candidates who are going to promise you that they can take you from poverty to prosperity and you're going to be rich and you're going to have a home and all these different things. It ain't happening. Look, that's all I got. If I said something that you disagree with or you agree with, and you have a perspective that you want to share, then feel free to drop a comment. In the meantime, what I need you to do is take care of yourself, be safe in these social media streets.